October 12, 1347. On this specific morning, history changed forever. Into the bustling harbor of Messina, Sicily, drifted 12 Genoese galleys. They had come from the Crimea, traveling through Constantinople, carrying silk, spices, and what should have been great wealth. But as the ships approached the stone docks, the silence was deafening. There were no shouts from the crew, no activity on the decks, just the creaking of wood and the flapping of tattered sails in the warm Mediterranean breeze. As the harbor master and dockworkers approached the vessels, the smell hit them first, a stench of rotting meat and sickness that overpowered the salt air. When they boarded, they found a scene from hell. The sailors were not just dead, they were twisted in agony. Their bodies were covered in mysterious black boils, buboes, oozing blood and pus. The few survivors were delirious, their skin blackened, coughing up blood, unable to stand. Panic set in immediately. The Messina officials screamed for the ships to be cut loose, to be driven back out to sea. "Get them out! Burn them!" they shouted. But it was already too late. While the humans argued and panicked on the docks, the true enemy was disembarking unnoticed. Black rats.
Messina,
Hundreds of them,
1347.
scuttling down the mooring ropes, jumping from the gangplanks, swimming through the shallow harbor water. They carried with them the oriental rat flea Xenophilichiopes. And inside the gut of every flea was Yersinia pestis. The bacteria had arrived. The port of Messina, with its 50,000 inhabitants, narrow streets and stone houses, was about to become ground zero for the Black Death in Europe. The clock has started. 6 o'clock in the morning. The sun rises over the Strait of Messina, casting a golden glow on the limestone buildings. To the casual observer, the city is waking up to a beautiful autumn day. The church bells of the Cathedral of Santa Maria ring out, calling the faithful to prime. But the biological bomb has already detonated. At the warehouses near the port, the work begins. Antonio, a 30-year-old stevedore, arrives for his shift. He is strong, healthy, with a wife and 3 children waiting in the residential district. He enters the grain store, unaware that the rats from the Genoese ships have already nested in the sacks of wheat during the night. Antonio hefts a heavy sack onto his shoulder. As he does, a flea, dislodged from its new rodent host, leaps. It lands on his neck. He feels a tiny itch, nothing more than a mosquito bite. He scratches it absently and continues working. In that split second, Yersinia pestis is regurgitated into his bloodstream. Meanwhile, in the market square, the daily rhythm of trade inadvertently becomes a rhythm of death. Maria, a baker's wife, is purchasing the morning's grain supply. This grain has come from the port warehouses. It is contaminated with rat droppings and fleas. She pays with silver coins that have passed through 100 hands. The city of Messina is a perfect incubator. The streets are narrow and packed with people. Sanitation is non-existent. Waste runs through the gutters. Houses are built wall to wall. As the morning progresses, the invisible web of infection stretches from the port to the market, from the market to the homes. By noon, dozens will be infected. By nightfall, hundreds. And still, no one knows they are already dying. 9 o'clock. The bells of Messina ring out across the terracotta rooftops. The city is now fully awake and bustling with the energy of a thriving trade hub. In the heart of the city, at the cathedral, Father Giuseppe is conducting Massachusetts. The heavy wooden doors are open and the pews are packed. 200 souls, shoulder to shoulder, kneeling in prayer. In medieval Sicily, privacy is a foreign concept. Community is everything. And this community is the perfect fuel for the fire that is about to consume them. As the parishioners share the sign of peace, clasping hands and kissing cheeks, they are sharing much more. 6 people in this congregation have already been bitten. The bacteria are multiplying in their lymph nodes, preparing to launch a systemic assault. Outside in the market square, the noise is deafening. Merchants shout prices, chickens cluck in cages, and carts rumble over the cobblestones. It is a scene of vibrant life. But look closer. The rats are not just in the shadows anymore. Emboldened by the sheer number of them disembarking from the ships, they scurry beneath the market stalls, brushing against the ankles of women buying vegetables. Sophia, A young mother living in the cramped residential quarter sits by her window nursing her 6-month-old son. The window is small, letting in a beam of dust-filled light. She feels a sudden chill despite the warming air. She pulls her shawl tighter, attributing it to a draft. She doesn't know that the flea bite on her ankle from an hour ago has already seeded her blood with death. Her baby, innocent and fragile, breathes the same air, resting against her infected skin. The tragedy of this moment is the normalcy. No one is running. No one is screaming. The horror is entirely invisible, hidden beneath the surface of daily routine. The trap has snapped shut, but the victims won't realize it for another 3 hours. High noon. The sun beats down on Sicily with relentless intensity. The temperature has risen to 75 degrees, but for some in Messina, it feels like they have stepped into a furnace. The incubation period for the pneumonic variant can be hours, but for the bubonic strain initiated by the fleas, the first signs are subtle, then overwhelming. Antonio, the dock worker who was bitten at dawn, is no longer working. He sits on a crate near the warehouse, his head swimming. He tries to drink water from a ladle, but his hands are shaking uncontrollably. His co-workers laugh, thinking he has drunk too much wine. They slap him on the back, touching him, breathing his air. They don't know that the bacteria have now overwhelmed his immune system. His temperature is spiking to 104 degrees. In the market, Maria the baker's wife feels a sudden, sharp pain in her groin. It feels like a stone is being pressed under her skin. She stumbles, knocking over a basket of apples. A neighbor rushes to help her up, grasping her sweating hands. "It's just the heat," Maria whispers, her voice raspy. But it isn't the heat. It is the lymph nodes swelling, filling with dead white blood cells and necrotic tissue. The bubo is forming. The city is loud, hot, and smelly. The stench of the harbor, rotting fish, waste, and the death ships seems to have grown stronger. Flies are everywhere, buzzing in thick clouds over the gutters. The rats are becoming strangely bold, seen running in open daylight, dying in the streets. The doctors of Messina, trained in the theories of the four humors, notice an uptick in complaints. They prescribe bloodletting or herbs to balance the excess heat. They have no idea that every incision they make, every patient they touch, spreads the infection further. The sun is at its highest point, but for Messina, the long night is just beginning. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The heat of the day has settled heavy and thick over Messina. The stone streets radiate warmth, but a different kind of heat is burning through the population. The initial confusion is shifting into alarm. It is no longer just 1 or 2 people feeling faint. Across the city, in the workshops, the market stalls, and the noble houses, scores of people are collapsing. Antonio, the dock worker, can no longer stand. He has fallen in the alleyway behind the warehouse. His breath comes in ragged, shallow gasps. His skin is burning to the touch, yet he shivers as if buried in snow. His friends, initially mocking him, now stand back in fear. They see the dark flush spreading across his face, the signs of septicemia, blood poisoning caused by the bacteria multiplying unchecked. In the market square, the noise has changed. The haggling has quieted. Vendors are packing up early, their movements sluggish and uncoordinated. Maria, the baker's wife, has abandoned her stall entirely. She stumbled home, vomiting in the street, supported by her terrified husband. The sight of a healthy woman reduced to a trembling wreck in hours sends a ripple of unease through the crowd. Rumors begin to fly. Is it poison? Is it bad air? Is it the Genoese ships? The city guards are now nervously eyeing the harbor. The rats are dying in droves now, their small bodies littering the gutters, ignored by the people who are too focused on their own sudden agony. The transition has happened. The incubation is over for the first wave. The bacteria have conquered the immune systems of the first 100 victims. The headache is blinding. The joints ache as if crushed. And deep within the body, the lymph nodes are swelling to the bursting point. The panic is not yet a scream. It is a whisper. But it is spreading faster than the plague itself.
We must make room.
4 o'clock. The golden hour begins to bathe Messina in a deceptive, beautiful light. But inside the homes and the hospital, the true horror of the Black Death is finally revealing itself. The vague symptoms of fever and pain have coalesced into something specific. Something monstrous. It starts as a hard, painful lump. Then, within an hour, it swells to the size of an egg. Then an apple. The bubo. The defining mark of the bubonic plague. It appears where the lymphatic system drains, the neck, the armpit, the groin. It is black, purple, and agonizingly painful. In the monastery hospital, the monks are recoiling. They have never seen this before. They try to lance the boils, believing them to be simple abscesses. But when cut, they release a foul-smelling black sludge. The smell of the ward changes instantly. The sweet, cloying scent of gangrene and death fills the air. Maria, lying in her bed, screams as the bubo in her groin swells tight against her skin. The pain is absolute. She feels as if her body is turning inside out. Her family watches in helpless terror, backing away into the corners of the room. They see the black spots appearing on her fingers, gangrene setting in while she is still alive. Panic is now visible in the streets. People are running, not to work but to hide. Doors are being barred. Shutters are being slammed closed. The sound of the city is no longer the hum of commerce, but the sound of weeping and the slamming of wood. The doctors, helpless and terrified, begin to flee. The realization has hit. This is not a sickness. This is a curse. 6 o'clock in the evening. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in bruised shades of purple and red. In the fading light, the Order of Messina begins to disintegrate completely. The monastery hospital of San Salvatore, usually a place of quiet healing, has become a warehouse of screams. The beds are full. The floor is full. The courtyard is filling up. There are no doctors left. They have fled to their country estates or locked themselves in their towers. The burden falls entirely on the monks and nuns. They move through the hall like ghosts, their robes stained with black bile and blood. They offer water and prayers, but they cannot offer a cure. The treatments they attempt are desperate and medieval. They place cooked onions on the buboes to draw out the poison. They burn aromatic herbs, rosemary, frankincense, to cleanse the miasma from the air. It is useless. The bacteria are not in the air, they are in the blood. Inside the crowded hall, the heat is suffocating. The smell is indescribable, a mix of unwashed bodies, rotting flesh, and fear. A young novice monk, Brother Thomas, tries to hold a cup of water to a dying man's lips. The man convulses, coughing a spray of bloody mist directly into Thomas's face. The monk freezes. He wipes his face slowly, looking at the red stain on his hand. He knows. In that second, he knows he is dead too. Outside, the city gates are being closed. But it doesn't matter. The enemy is already inside the walls. The rats are dying in the open now, spinning in circles before collapsing. The fleas, starving as their rodent hosts die, are jumping by the thousands onto the nearest warm bodies. The humans huddled together in fear. The sun is gone. The darkness has won. 8 o'clock. Night has fully descended on Messina. The city is plunged into darkness, save for the flickering of torches and the glow of hearth fires through shuttered windows. And now the silence is broken. Not by the bells of the cathedral, but by the wailing of the first widows. Antonio, the strong dock worker who carried the grain at dawn, takes his last breath. He dies on the floor of his small home, surrounded by his wife and children. The septicemia has turned his body black before he is even cold. His wife screams, a sound that tears through the thin walls and echoes down the narrow street. In the merchant's house, Maria the baker's wife also succumbs. The agony of the buboes is finally over. Her body lies twisted on the bed, the sheet stained with the fluid from the burst swellings. Her husband stands over her, holding a candle, his face a mask of disbelief. He has lost his partner, his business, his future, all in 12 hours. The death toll begins to tick upward. 5, 10, 20. In the hospital, the monks stop trying to cure and start trying to bury. But there are no grave diggers willing to work. The bodies are moved to the courtyard, wrapped in simple linen sheets. The family members of the dead face a horrific choice: stay with the body and risk infection, or drag their loved ones into the street and abandon them. In the darkness of the alleyways, the first corpses are pushed out the doors. The thud of a body hitting the cobblestones is a sound Messina will hear 1,000 times before Christmas. The social contract, the bond between parent and child, husband and wife, is beginning to break under the weight of survival. 10 o'clock at night. Panic has evolved into a primal urge: flight. The rumor has solidified into a terrifying truth: the city itself is cursed. The wealthy, the nobility, and those with means are the first to break. They believe that distance is the cure. They pack their carriages with gold, silks, and food, leaving their homes unlocked and their servants behind. The city gates of Messina, usually closed and barred at sunset, are forced open by a desperate mob. Bribes change hands. Guards are trampled. A river of torches flows out of the city, heading towards the countryside, towards Catania, towards the villas in the hills. It looks like a pilgrimage, but it is a death march. What these refugees do not realize is that they are not leaving the plague behind. They are taking it with them. It is woven into the wool of their cloaks where the fleas hide. It is coursing through the veins of the father driving the cart, who feels a slight headache beginning. It is in the baggage train, where rats have stowed away among the grain sacks. This exodus is the single greatest catastrophe of the night. If Messina had sealed itself off, the Black Death might have burned out within its walls. Instead, the city is acting like an exploding star, shooting deadly particles in every direction. Every village these refugees stop at, every inn they sleep in, every relative they embrace will be dead within weeks. On the road south, the procession is chaotic. Horses rear in the darkness, spooked by the smell of fear. Wheels crack on the uneven stones. Families are separated in the crush. A wealthy merchant kicks a beggar off his wagon. There is no charity tonight, only survival. But for the thousands pouring out of the gates, their fate was sealed the moment the sun rose this morning. Midnight. The first day is over. October 12th has bled into October 13th. The city of Messina, exhausted, battered, and terrified, attempts to sleep. But there is no peace. The exodus has thinned the population, but thousands remain. The poor, the sick, the stubborn, and the doomed. The silence of the city is heavy, broken only by the occasional scream from a shuttered house or the howling of a dog. The streets are littered with the debris of panic. Dropped possessions, overturned carts, and bodies. The dead are no longer being moved. They lie where they fell, becoming feasts for the rats that now rule the night. In the harbor, the 12 Genoese ships sit motionless on the black water. They are floating tombs. On their decks, the last of the original crew have died. The ships gently creak, bumping against the pilings, a rhythmic reminder of the source of the horror. Inside the homes, the survivors count their losses. A mother touches the forehead of her sleeping child and pulls her hand away, burning. She weeps silently, knowing the morning will bring the buboes. A priest in the empty cathedral kneels before the altar, praying for a salvation that will not come. He hears the scratching of claws on the stone floor behind him. The statistics of the first 24 hours are impossible to know fully, but the impact is absolute. The infection rate is exponential. For every person who died today, 20 more are infected. For every rat that died, 100 fleas are seeking new hosts. The biological machine of the Black Death is now fully operational. The Middle Ages have ended. The era of the plague has begun. Christmas Day, 1347. 2 months after the ships arrived, Messina is unrecognizable. The bustling port city of 50,000 is now a tomb city. 25,000 dead. Half the population erased in 60 days. The streets are silent. Bodies lie where they fell, no one left to bury them. The survivors huddle in their homes, terrified to go outside. The market is empty. The cathedral holds no services. The priests are dead. Antonio, the dock worker, died on October 15th, 3 days after infection. His wife lasted 1 day longer. Their 3 children died together on October 18th. Maria, the baker, died on October 20th. The bread she sold killed 17 families. Father Giuseppe died on October 23rd, still believing it was God's judgment. Sophia and her baby died on October 16th, within hours of each other. The plague didn't stop in Messina. Those who fled carried it north, to Rome, to Florence, to Venice, across the Alps into France, Germany, England. By 1351, the entire continent was transformed into a graveyard. 30 to 60% of Europe died. The exact number will never be known. Between 25 and 50 million people, gone, in 4 years. Today, 700 years later, you can visit Messina. It's a beautiful city, rebuilt, thriving. 3,000 miles away, tourists walk those same streets where Antonio carried contaminated grain, where Maria sold deadly bread, where Sophia nursed her doomed baby. In 2005, scientists exhumed victims from medieval plague pits. They extracted DNA from the teeth of the dead, and they confirmed it, Yersinia pestis, the same bacterium, still identifiable after 7 centuries. We remember them, the 50,000 of Messina, the millions across Europe, dead from an invisible enemy they couldn't understand, couldn't fight, couldn't escape. No cure, no escape, only memory.
During the late Middle Ages.